The Alternative Corner, where we will follow topics of interest other than boxing. At October Red, we always want to engage with our listeners and accommodate what our viewers want to listen to. Feedback is essential. Feel free to tell us yours. Listen in to episode 13, where we continue to discuss the potential removal of Prince Andrew's ducal and princely titles by parliamentary law. The story continues of power, accountability, and the question of whether the law truly applies to everyone.
Good evening, good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm Abs of October Red, and we are back with the Alternative Corner. Little cheeky one this evening, because some news was breaking as I got back home from the lovely, wet and miserable Manchester. But we're not going to talk boxing. This is the Alternative Corner, and we're going ahead with the story on Prince Andrew. Hold that thought, because titles and styles may be disappearing. So this episode, it's official. And when I say it's official, the motion is starting to withdraw the titles held by Prince Andrew, the Duke of York. It's rolling. For years, this story has been about the scandal, but today it's going to be about the law. We're going to go into how Parliament and the Crown handle accountability inside British oldest institution, which we know is the monarchy. In this episode of the Alternative Corner, we'll explain what's happening, why it matters, and how the removal of the royal titles works under the British Constitution. Yep, you know I like to break it down. You know I like to give you guys not what's happening, but why it's happening. I need you to understand, because like I said, all of this is important. Whether you're a British citizen or not, this is part of history. Okay? So today's date then, October the 30th, 2025, King Charles III has authorised the formal process to withdraw Prince Andrew's remaining titles and honours. I'll list all the sources and stuff in the description. So according to palace sources, so this info's creeping out, he will cease to use the title Prince and the title Duke of York. Official communications will refer to him simply as Andrew Mountbatten, Windsor. At the same time, MPs have lodged an early day motions calling for legislation to strip those titles formally, ensuring that the decision isn't symbolic but legal. Remember, like I said, it's got to go through Parliament. So Andrew's also been asked to vacate his residence, the Royal Lodge at Windsor, as part of his broader reset of royal accountability. So under the law, removing a royal dukedom or the title prince cannot be done by the monarch alone. House of Commons, House of Lords must pass the legislation and Act of Parliament for the peerage to be legally extinguished, and we've discussed about peerage in the last episode. The last time Parliament used this power was over a century ago under the Titles Deprivation Act 1917 to remove titles from royals who sided with enemy powers. Remember, there was that law that was put into place. If Parliament succeeds now, it could mark the first time since 1919 that a senior royal's peerage and princely style were moved by law. They have these words for it. The prince isn't a title as such, it's a style. According to the House of Commons Library briefing, and this is CBP 10370, right, so this is for you to do your little research, royal titles fall under the peerage system, a hierarchy of noble ranks: duke, marquis, earl, viscount, baron, baroness, etc., etc. We've gone through this. These titles are legal creations, not ceremonial labels. They exist in law and can only be altered by law. The House of Lords Act 1999, remember they had the amendment, removed the automatic right of hereditary peers to sit in the Lords, but peerages themselves still exist as a legal entity, and that is why Andrew's dukedom remains on record until Parliament acts to revoke it. So just to refresh your memory, if you didn't listen to last episode, peerages are legal titles, and 1999 Act ended automatic seats in the House of Lords under Tony Blair, that was. So the current motions then in Westminster, cross-party MPs led by the members of the Scottish Party and Liberal Democrats have tabled motions urging the government to draft a Royal Titles and Peerages Amendment Bill. This aim is to remove Andrew's ducal and princely titles and clarify future procedure for royal title withdrawal. So last time this was done, 1999, before that 1917. So now they're looking to make another amendment. So 2025, if it does go through, it could be 2026, you're looking at something that is historic once again, something that doesn't happen often. Ministers say that the move is constitutionally sensitive, but acknowledge that the public interest in transparency. Yes, it is sensitive, but look, accountability, all the rest of it comes in with the democracy that we live in. So you need to act in accordance with the law of the land. So it's pending, it's a debate, it's not yet in motion. It can take time because before anything is declared in law, it has to go through several debates in the Commons and then to the Lords, and then it gets the royal assent before it becomes law. So it's not yet happened. If Parliament passes the law, Andrew would legally lose the title Duke of York and the style Prince. He would revert to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, still a royal by birth, but without any official rank or honour. So the dukedom would go, and even though he is sort of theoretically, he is a prince by birthright, and that was the only thing that was, how can they take that off him? But it is still a title. Might have to do some more research into that because you can't change someone's birthright surely, but hey, I've been wrong before. Such a step would be a constitutional milestone, the first time in a century that Parliament and the Crown have acted together to remove royal titles under the law. It would also clarify that peerages and titles are subject to the rule of law, not above it. We go back to Magna Carta once again. So yeah, it could be the first time in 100 years. This is really significant. Like I said, it's not yet gone through. It's something that's in discussion. These things do take time, but according to the sources, like I said, I'll list those down. It's being talked about. It's been brought up in Parliament. So things are happening. Royal titles have always carried symbolism, but in our democracy, modern times, symbolism must answer to the law. And to be fair, it did previously, and that is why Magna Carta came into effect in the first place, because the king at the time, 1215, King John, wasn't acting in an appropriate manner. And the barons, which I'd probably say were probably the modern day lords, but before the government and Parliament was, put together properly, they were like, you gotta stop this. We've gone into this, we've done chapter on this, we've done an episode on this before. So I'm Abs. This is the Alternative Corner. Don't ask me what episode it is. Sometimes I don't even know what day it is, but you've been listening to Prince Andrew, titles potentially going to be withdrawn, Parliament, power and the law. I appreciate you guys listening to this. You know what to do. Subscribe, share, all the good stuff. If you've got any questions, put them in the comments and I'll try and answer to the best of my knowledge. This is one of the stories that we are following. I've recently purchased a couple of books around the topic of Prince Andrew, one of them being the Virginia Guthrie memoirs. Unfortunately, Virginia is no longer with us. It's alleged that she took her own life, rest in peace. And I've also got the Andrew, is it Lowney book, where it's entitled, I think it's called. So I've got a couple of books that I'm reading, having a look into it a little bit deeper. And I'll probably be doing some feedback on both of those books, even though I believe the Virginia one is slightly explicit. So maybe not, as it definitely will not be YouTube friendly. So I'm going to leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. It is breaking news. It is subject to change. Nothing is finalised. This is all potentials at the moment. So yes, as we say at October Red, au revoir for now and stay ready.
Thank you for listening to The Alternative Corner. Most of our listeners have not yet subscribed. We kindly ask you for your support by subscribing to our channel and to share our content. October Red is sponsored by SAUK, Maximum Security, Minimum Fuss.